Right, straight in. This is Jack Carter on UK Pulse. Listen, we are not dressing this up. We've got 1,200 plus small boat crossings already this March. That's pushed the 2026 total past 3,500. And earlier in the month, we had 7 days running of people arriving on our shores. 7 days. What does that tell you? It tells me the border is buckled. It tells me the system is, well, it's kaput. And while that's happening, we've got grooming scandals still unresolved and whole towns crying out for houses. Towns like Bolton saying enough. Today, I'm tying those threads together. Small boats, grooming gangs, and local housing chaos into one plain truth. Two-tier Britain. Grab a brew and stay with me.
Jack, quick note on the numbers. The Home Office figures are stark. The 1,200 plus migrant crossings this March moved the 2026 total past 3,400. And the pattern of sustained crossings over consecutive days strongly suggests the current deterrence measures aren't holding. That's the factual baseline we have to work from before we talk about impacts.
Thank you, Luke. And when I say impacts, I mean real people, not faceless numbers. British kids in towns like Rotherham, Rochdale, Oldham, victims who've been failed, while, and this is the bit that boils me, whole swathes of resources are diverted to emergency hotel space and asylum housing. Meanwhile, the official line is, we'll look into it, and we wait. We wait while the boats keep coming. It's cowardice, frankly.
It's worth pausing there. The human cost is enormous. Survivors of exploitation still seek justice and long-term protection, and communities in the north say they see a mismatch. Enforcement priorities appear inconsistent. There's also the practical fallout. Local councils stretched thin, temporary hotel placements eating budgets, and housing waiting lists growing longer. That's the crunch point.
Exactly. And look, this isn't some abstract political argument. It's tangible. You walk through Bolton, you speak to teachers, to social workers, to parents. There's a sense that the system protects everyone but ordinary British families. And then you see headlines, urgent action on London grooming gangs. Yeah, urgent when the media light flicks on. But where's the proper, muscular probe into London? Where's the action? It's always the same playbook. Inquiries, committees, reports. Then the kettle boils over another time.
There have been inquiries and reports, yes, but many survivors and local campaigners argue they move too slowly. They say the focus is often on process rather than outcomes. Prosecutions, custodial sentences, deportations where relevant, and safeguarding measures that actually reduce risk. And on the London front, campaigners have called repeatedly for a dedicated, well-resourced investigation. That demand hasn't gone away.
And meanwhile, small boats. Let me be blunt. A 7-day streak of crossings, that's not a seasonal blip. That's an operational failure. The border is a sieve. People are coming across in numbers that strain local services, housing, schools, NHS, and the first people who feel it are the British families already waiting. You see it in Bolton. Council says no to creating new council homes specifically for asylum seekers. That vote matters. It matters because it's people saying we won't be bumped down the list so someone else can get a warm room.
On Bolton, councillors voted against proposals that would have allocated council housing for asylum accommodation. And to be precise, the vote reflects a local backlash to centrally driven placement schemes that many residents feel were imposed on their community. There's also evidence that where hotels are used for asylum accommodation, they end up being long-term de facto housing, which pushes British families further down waiting lists.
Luke, tell me this. When local families in Bolton hear about taxpayer-funded hotels for migrants, and then they see their own kids stuck in overcrowded flats or waiting rooms at the GP, What do you expect them to feel? Anger, resentment, and the right to feel that. Because while politicians sermonize about compassion, the practical reality is a two-tier Britain where migrants get housing first, or at least no worse, and British families get a lecture and a waiting list.
I don't disagree with the anger. From a policy perspective, there's a failure to reconcile international obligations with operational capacity. The backlog in asylum decisions, the time between application and determination, creates long-term pressures. When people are housed temporarily, they can remain in that status for months, sometimes years. Councils then face tricky choices with limited budgets and political heat from residents.
And aren't the choices predictable? One party opens the floodgates. We all remember the Boris years and the policies that effectively incentivize crossings. And the other spends today wrestling with the consequences, often defensively, saying, we're being humane. Meanwhile, reform parties, the ones out there calling it straight, Reform UK, Restore Britain, they're saying what? Deport first. House Brits first, clear the hotels, scrap the backlog. And if the law binds our hands, leave the European court. Say we need tools to put British kids first.
Jack, politically charged, yes, but legally complex. Prioritizing deportation, illegal entrants, foreign criminals, failed asylum seekers, hits legal safeguards and international obligations. You mentioned leaving the European Court of Human Rights. That's a constitutional and diplomatic step with major consequences. From a pragmatic standpoint, however, there's no question that reducing the backlog, speeding up decisions, and improving returns capability would alleviate local strains.
Pragmatic, yes, but we need muscle as well as process. My deportation priority list is simple and deliberate. 1. Illegal entrants who came here deliberately outside legal channels. 2. Foreign criminals, those convicted of crimes on our soil. 3. Failed asylum seekers whose claims have been rightly rejected. Clear rooms, send people home. Stop the cycle of temporary hotels that become permanent. That's putting British kids and British families first.
Speeding up decisions and improving returns requires investment in border security, caseworkers, and diplomatic arrangements. It also demands clear public messaging so communities don't feel left behind. The evidence shows that when local leaders are involved in placement decisions and when funding follows the cost, tensions ease somewhat. But that's not a silver bullet. You still need robust enforcement.
I'm gonna see it plain. Both major parties are culpable. Tories opened the door, Labour stands accused of protecting the consequences. And meanwhile, the people who want simple answers, Reform UK and Restore Britain, they look like the only ones telling the truth to the silent majority. Now, I'm not here to run a party political broadcast. I'm here to light a fire under voters, to say, demand answers, demand consequences.
And from an evidence angle, voters do respond to clear, deliverable policies. Promises to deport and to change legal frameworks must be backed by capacity. If you pledge mass removals, you need agreements with origin countries, travel logistics, and legal robustness. Otherwise, you risk costly legal defeats and more political frustration.
Fine. Then get the agreements, get the planes, get the diplomacy. Stop hiding behind court rulings and pity. We're a sovereign nation and we can decide who stays and who goes. Look, listeners, I know this strikes a nerve. It's supposed to, because this is about who we choose to put first.
Jack, quick interruption. Public safety must be central. Any reform must make sure that victims get justice, that child protection mechanisms are strengthened, and that policing is consistent. The phrase two-tier policing resonates because people see selective zeal, strong on speech, weak on criminal networks. That perception needs addressing through transparent enforcement data and consistent prosecutorial focus.
Two-tier policing. There's the phrase that keeps me awake. Tough on protesters and words, soft on gangs and documented offenders. That's cowardice. And it's not just rhetoric, it's policy in action. When you prioritize avoiding accusations over pursuing justice, justice loses. Kids lose, communities lose.
Which brings us back to action. Clear priorities, better resourcing for policing in grooming hotspots, faster asylum decision-making to reduce long-term accommodation pressures, and genuine local consultation on housing placements. Those are the policy pieces that could break the cycle.
Policy pieces, yeah, but we need agitation too. Listeners, here's my challenge. Do you want a proper reckoning on grooming gangs and small boats? Do you want deport first, house Brits first as a national priority? Drop your best comments, specific stories, dates, names, local councillors. I'll read the strongest and bring them on air. And if you're done with two-tier Britain, share this episode. Hit like, subscribe, ring that bell, send it to your mates who've had enough. Luke, any last quick facts for folks who want to argue the numbers?
2 quick things. 1. The latest public Home Office tallies are the immediate evidence. 1,200 plus migrant crossings this March, 3,400 plus for 2026. Use those figures when you talk to MPs. 2. Demand Your Council publishes the local costs of hotel accommodation and placements. Transparency changes the debate. That's where campaigning can be most effective.
Perfect. Listen, I'm fired up, aren't I? We all are. This is not despair, it's a call. A call to stop letting our kids be second in their own country. A call to demand action, not platitudes. So get involved. Comment below, share your stories, and we'll carry them forward. This is Jack Carter on UK Pulse. Stay sharp, stay honest, and let's put British kids first. See you next time.